This video, we'll be exploring what would have happened if Grandpa Muto defeated the great Seto Kaiba. That's right, let's revisit the scene we're all familiar with. Kaiba sends 3 of his goons to pick up Grandpa, hoping to get his clutches on the last Blue Eyes White Dragon.
My master Seto Kaiba challenges you to a duel. You will come with us now.
And if I were to decline?
I'm afraid I must insist.
However, Grandpa stands there, unfazed. A moment passes, and Grandpa walks over to the telephone and makes a call. He calls for an ambulance, but it wasn't for him. The goons look confused. What is going on? However, it all became clear as Grandpa takes a fighting pose. Grandpa Muto proceeds to dismantle each of Kaiba's men one after another with the most brutal techniques. Their finger pointing was no match for Grandpa, as he was a black belt in karate and jujitsu. Grandpa wasn't done. He strolls over to Kaiba Corp and challenges Kaiba to a duel. However, unlike how things went originally, Grandpa manages to pull an upset over Kaiba and summons the Forbidden One.
Impossible!
Oh, it's possible. Grandpa is known for making the impossible possible.
Sodia, it's not possible! No one's ever been able to call him!
Now, Grandpa has now been declared the winner, and Kaiba has been defeated, and the 4th Blue Eyes White Dragon is safe without any major damage. So what happens now? Now, we have to point out the obvious, that Grandpa beating Kaiba in a duel is probably one of the worst things that could happen for the Yugioh world. Seto Kaiba needed to have been defeated by Yugi for the simple fact that at the end of their duel, Atem uses Mind Crush, which shatters Seto's mind, and he has to rebuild himself, giving Seto the opportunity to discover how he was before Kaiba took an evil turn.
I like the way it was before we got here. At least back then, you actually smiled once in a while.
Now, due to this happening, we get the Kaiba we know and love today. The one who actually cares about Mokuba. And also the version of Kaiba who, regardless of how they act, deep down considers Yugi as his friend. So if Seto never duels Atem and was defeated by Grandpa, then that would mean we would be left with an evil Kaiba. And trust me, after reading the manga, we don't want that Kaiba for the rest of the series. Like, this is an image of Kaiba trapping Joey whilst holding a baby with a psychopath mass murderer with a chainsaw as part of his game. This is Seto holding Yugi and his friends captive with a giant guillotine threatening to chop off their arms if they don't solve the puzzle in time. This is a picture of Mokuba experiencing death via virtual reality, which Seto allows since he lost to Yugi. Now imagine this Kaiba annoyed and embarrassed that he lost to a 72-year-old man. Imagine what kind of hell he would put Grandpa through later on, especially the people he cares about, like Yugi. We also need to look at the wider consequences of defeating Seto Kaiba. When Yugi beat Kaiba, he was known internationally as a duelist who defeated Seto Kaiba and became partially famous for it. And with the same merit, Grandpa would also receive a level of fame from this incident. Now, Pegasus would obviously hear about this duel and it would catch his interest. Now, in the original timeline, Pegasus captures Yugi's Grandpa as a way to force Yugi to enter the duelist kingdom. However, after doing research, Pegasus would have discovered that Grandpa actually isn't in possession of a Millennium item, so things could go in 2 different directions. Either Pegasus discovers that Grandpa's grandson Yugi is in possession of the Millennium Puzzle and still captures Yugi's grandfather in an attempt to get possession of Yugi's Millennium item, or Pegasus would have no idea that Yugi owns the Millennium Puzzle and sends Grandpa an invite to Duelist Kingdom without a catch and just purely due to the fact that he was impressed that he defeated Kaiba. I mean, either of those 2 directions, we would still be left with a corrupt Seto Kaiba. Now, it's also important to note that Pegasus was originally trying to take over Kaiba Corp as Seto Kaiba had disappeared due to Yugi's Mind Crush. However, since that never happened, Pegasus probably wouldn't be foolish enough to try a hostile takeover while Kaiba was still functioning. So the entire storyline with Mokuba being kidnapped and Seto coming to save him would probably be erased from the timeline. And the Big Five who secretly betrayed Kaiba wouldn't dare to do so while Kaiba was still running the company. So then you got to ask yourself, why would Pegasus host the Duelist Kingdom in the first place? Well, Pegasus is the creator of the game Duel Monsters, and he has hosted many tournaments. Pegasus at this stage in his life is still fixated on bringing Cecilia back to life, and he knows that he needs other Millennium items to do so. So he hosts these events, hoping to attract other Millennium item users to him. But also, tournaments are very good for business. As I said, he is the creator of the game. Now the question is, would Grandpa Muto accept Pegasus's invite to Duelist Kingdom? Or would he decline, as he is still very old?
It looks like the student is finally going to face his former duel instructor. I mean, it's time to teach you a lesson, kid.
But in the World Championship arc, we see an appearance of Apnag Otum, which is Grandpa Muto backwards. Grandpa still hasn't lost his spirit as a duelist. I believe Grandpa is a young man trapped in an old man's body, and he would wholeheartedly take Pegasus up on that offer. Now, this is where we encounter our first problem, which is Weevil Underwood. Similarly what he did to Yugi, Weevil would also throw Grandpa's Epsiode cars off the boat. Now, Grandpa might have more life knowledge than Yugi, but he is just as trusting as Yugi is, and would probably hand over the Epsiode pieces, falling for Weevil's trap. Now, losing Epsiode would be a big blow for Grandpa, but luckily, since the Blue Eyes White Dragon was never ripped in half, he still had a powerhouse in that deck. And let's not forget the Dark Magician as well as the Summoned Skull, so Grandpa's deck will still be a huge threat even after losing Epsiode. And Grandpa might not look like it, but he is a game master in his own right. He wouldn't struggle at all to duel his way into the finals. Honestly, the fact that Grandpa doesn't have a Millennium item actually works in his advantage, as most people who targeted Yugi was due to that fact. So that means the Eliminators hired by Pegasus wouldn't be targeting him, and also Bakura, who is hunting down the Millennium items, would be going after Pegasus's Millennium Eye instead of Grandpa, and he would leave him alone. The only issue that Grandpa would be facing is that Seto Kaiba would probably be taking part in this tournament. After the humiliating defeat he would face against Grandpa, he would want a chance at redemption and join the Duelist Kingdom. Now this would be a problem for Grandpa, since Kaiba has 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons and Grandpa no longer has Epsiode, and Seto Kaiba would definitely be targeting Grandpa, and due to anime laws, Seto Kaiba and Grandpa Muto would probably make it to the finals and have that rematch. Now the truth is, without the Epsiode, it's not looking good for Grandpa Muto. Seto Kaiba would also have a new strategy under his sleeves, which is the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So this could go either two ways. Grandpa could pull off the strategy almost like Atem did in Duelist Kingdom with the Karibos, which weakens the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, or Grandpa's one Blue Eyes would be overwhelmed by Seto's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and Grandpa would face defeat in the finals. What do you guys think would happen? And how else do you think the storyline would change if Grandpa defeated Seto Kaiba in episode 1? Also guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time.